Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Rod Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. Welcome back, Construction Champions, to another amazing episode. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum. And as always, you guys don't show up for me, but I have to tell you at least who I am. It only makes sense. Wherever you're listening, whether it's on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, any of the major podcast networks out there, Reese Across America Radio, I want to welcome you here and say thank you for taking the time and joining us today. As always, we have an amazing guest, and we're going to dive right into it here. Leanne, it is fantastic to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Ron. It's fantastic to be here.
Awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself to all the construction champions out there listening today?
Will do. So my name is Leanne Ozane, and I have a stack of financial credentials, but none of them are actually that important for the show. What I want people to know is that I work with business owners around one thing, which is their mindset around money, their business money, so that they can be profitable. I love my work. I love working one-on-one with people. I love working in groups to take a business owner from the place where all they do is work in their business, make a bunch of money, and leave the feeling behind forever of all I do is make a bunch of money and it goes to payroll, it goes to the government, and it goes to taxes, right? I like to fix that problem for people by teaching cash flow systems or something called the 2-number method. So that's what I do. It's what I love. But professionally, I am a financial planner and a certified divorce financial analyst, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got the chops with finance, but really I have more of a heart for business owners to help them with one super important part of their business, which is profitability. Like, not profit on paper, profit in the bank that changes their life.
I love it. I love it. You hit a couple key points. I mindset around money. This is going to be an interesting conversation today because most people's mindset around money is completely screwed up.
It's garbage. Yeah.
For anybody, all of our long-term listeners, they know I love profit. Like, we're in business to make a profit because, like, if you don't, why are we even in business? It just adds undue stress. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm going to lead right into it with the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
I think what makes a construction champion is no different than what makes a champion in business. A champion in business is a human who owns a business that is profitable, but more so a person who is a leader and understands that they have a relationship with their business and that their relationship with business also has a relationship with money. And without money in business, there is no business, right? Or there's just debt or there's just stress, like you just said. So I really believe that the work that I do and when I see my clients win big time, it's because they've embraced a whole new mindset around, hey, I no longer have to be quote unquote enslaved to what I call the lie of the land, which is if we just make more, that all of our financial problems will go away. We start businesses for a reason. And I think champions in business start to learn how to separate themselves personally where it's important from their business and understand that their business is something they are creating and it deserves their respect and their attention. And it requires learning new things. It requires strategy. And I think that makes people stronger and more successful when they shift from being in reaction mode to everything happening in their business to, I've got this. I know how to do this. And I've got more money in the bank than I did yesterday.
I mean, that's a fantastic answer. I just, why do you think we get in this trap around profit? Like, you bring up amazing points there, but you're in the trenches of this, so you're seeing it real time in businesses. We're right on the same wavelength with the scale. Like that, all that does is compound issues if you don't fix them. But like that's on narrative. Like the next job would be bigger. It'll fix this.
Yep.
But actually, it's just worse.
It does. It truly is. It truly is. To answer your question, what I see, it's not just what I think, it's what I see with real men and women who sit in those chairs and come in here and work with me. Um, what I see is that we don't have much distinction between what we learned and what I call your money personality. Your money personality is kind of like software. It's programmed in your brain. It's a line of code that we learned from our childhood, we learn from society, we just learn around. Especially, let's just go ahead and say it. I bet a bunch of your listeners are primarily men. And there's a thing
90% of them.
90%. Hi, guys. So men in particular have this societal and internal narrative around money that is really unique to men. And it's also what I love about businessmen is that they are brave and they are good providers and they care about people. And so what to answer your question, the problem that we have is that we have this line of code, this money personality that creates instinctual habits. And we learn them throughout our life and through society. And then we don't know, like most people, I bet most of your listeners did not go to business school, right? They were talented with their hands, talented with their brains, and they went and they started a business in all these different, ventures in your industry. And so what I find, especially with builders and electricians and plumbers that I've worked with, it's like, I never meant to be a business owner. Now I have to figure out taxes. I have to understand QuickBooks. What are you talking about? Like, what's going on with my life? Right. And so when our relationship with money, and I really truly think it is a relationship, like we have a relationship with our spouses or with our kids or our friends, our relationship with money is largely autopiloted by that money script that's in our head or that line of code that just makes us act a certain way. So until we say, oh, that is my natural tendency with money. And P.S., I didn't go to business school. P.S., I didn't ever intend to run a business. I don't understand taxes until we pause and go, hey, I'm smart. I can learn stuff. I can fix this. This doesn't have to be my default forever. That's when transformation begins. Is pausing, acknowledging, and shifting is what I see.
I love that. And now I come from the software side of things here. I'm not that I'm the techie person,
Sure.
but when you're talking about that it's a code in our brain,
Yeah.
is this a code that we just have to blow up to try to fix, like just completely destroy it? Or is it something that we can build on and rewrite?
Oh my gosh, that's the best question ever. Honestly, there's sometimes sometimes I'm like, I wish I could change my own money personality. But no, actually, that line of code or that instinct that we all have doesn't need to be blown up. But I think it needs to be understood and acknowledged. And then once we understand and acknowledge it, we can work with its strengths and its weaknesses. So, can I give you an example of one?
Absolutely.
So, over the 20 years that I've been working with business owners, I've figured out, I think I figured out there's basically 5 money scripts or money personalities. And one of them is what I affectionately call the hater. And surprisingly enough, Ron, I don't know if you'll believe me on this, but I find more often than not, men in construction fall into the hater category, which is why I'm picking on it. So the hater category is this money script that basically is like, hey, I feel like money and the conversation about money makes me uncomfortable. And I, as a rule, don't want to talk about prices. I don't want to talk about how much it costs me to buy those pipes that I'm installing in your home. I don't want to talk about my markup. It's hide. I'm afraid of billing. I don't want to do billing. It makes me super uncomfortable. And at the root of that script or that line of code is this thought that money will corrupt me and I'm a good person. And there's almost a level, I hate to say it, but it's almost like um, blue collar heroism. It's like, hey, I don't need to be making a lot. I don't want people to think I'm changed. I'm still a good person. And so this line of code runs and runs and runs and runs. And then we're trying to run a profitable business on the other side of it. So we don't say, hey, I hate that hater script. I hate it. What we go is we're like, oh, I got it. And so when we've got it, we've got to figure out how do we use that and still be really profitable without being completely out of incongruence with ourselves. So no, I don't think we blow it up. I think we know about it.
But it's
We're retraining the thought.
yeah, it's learning and educating yourself. And I would agree with a lot of that. I think that's why right now you run into a lot of 50, 60-year-old, mostly men that have been in the trades for the last 30 plus years that are worth 8, 9 figures, but you wouldn't be able to tell that at all. Like,
Yeah.
it's completely not necessarily irrelevant to their life, but it is not part of their life. Like, it just whatever's. They have accumulated all of this stuff and this net worth over the years, but you want to be able to tell. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head when you're talking about how the relationship, we don't want to talk about prices. We don't want to talk about what this costs or markup, the stuff that people want to know, not because it's a bad thing. It's just information people need to know, especially customers making buying decisions. Like, they need to know how much you're going to charge them. We have to have these conversations, but we can be very standoffish as an industry with that.
Yep. Well, and I know it sounds a little crass to say, and I hope this will be okay, but it is true. True of human beings. We would rather talk about our bedroom life than finances. There is something that's kind of shameful or dirty about talking about money and even talking about making money and keeping money and what we're going to do with it. I think that society has really programmed us to say that's a naughty subject, wanting more money than we have, wanting a really big business and its purpose, or even wanting a tiny little business and its purpose. It has a lot of shame around it. And so at times I think people just shy away from it because it's uncomfortable in our society to talk about money and why we charge what we charge, even though we're all adults and we know that we don't get something for nothing. And if we do, we should be suspicious of it. So.
No, I agree with that. And a lot of time, I mean, I would say you're around the wrong people. Like, you need to change your environment because you need to be, for one, it's a comfortability. Like, you need to be comfortable talking about this stuff with people and not getting negative feedback. And if you're getting negative feedback, those are probably just not people that you want around you or in that circle.
So, Ron, I agree with you that we have to hang out with the right people. And we have to surround ourselves with a team of people who have different perspectives than us, especially with money, especially around profitability. But what I have found, or what people tell me, is they go and they talk to their CPA when they're trying to consider the purchase. So they want counsel, like, hey, should I buy this $300,000 piece of equipment to grow my business? You go to a CPA and they're like, wait a minute, I'll tell you what the tax implications of that are. But really, CPAs don't give advice about investing into your business and the best use of cash flow. It's not their job. And then I would say the other side of that ditch, or if you were to look at two ditches, the other side would be the people go to a financial advisor, like they're Edward Jones guy, right? Everybody's got a guy at Edward Jones. So we go to our Edward Jones guy, and our Edward Jones guy he has a conflict of interest. His conflict of interest is he doesn't feed his family if he doesn't sell you life insurance and investments. It just doesn't work for that advice to come from that place. And so I find that people, especially in this industry, ask me, like, how on earth am I supposed to get counsel around what I do, like, every day with my money? And but by the way, a bookkeeper is oftentimes the person that your listener will trust the most and may also be the least qualified to provide that counsel because they're looking at QuickBooks, right? So it's difficult. I'm just acknowledging that it is difficult at times when we own a business to find counsel, find community, and find help around this part of life, finances, for a business owner that isn't about taxes or investing. Like, where do you get that help? It's hard to find it. And that's why my practice is so busy. Because that's what I bridge that gap, right? I bridge that gap and help people understand cash flow strategy.
And I agree with that. And I think a lot of times it's also a fear of asking because we can kind of look at it as like, I'm a business owner. I'm doing like, people expect me to have these answers and be able to make these decisions, even though like with what you said at the beginning is like, we didn't go to business school. We do not have a foundation to be asking these questions or answering these questions ourselves. We have a foundation to actually be asking them and seeking counsel.
Yeah, yeah. I find that people, men in particular, are plagued with this thought of like, well, everybody thinks I'm killing it because I'm driving the perfect truck and I'm busy all the time and I've got these crews. Everybody thinks I'm killing it, but I don't even know what I don't know. And I don't know what questions to ask. And that's a really lonely place and it leads to self-loathing a lot. I don't mean to make light of it, but it can and it does. And so my encouragement to your audience would be, hey, like, it's okay if you don't know the questions that you need to ask. Let me tell you a story. Can I do that really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, this is like a true story, and it's a story I hear all the time. It's essentially, okay, hey, I just met with my CPA for my quarterly check-in, and my CPA told me that I have to pay tax on $300,000. And the person said to me, Leanne, I don't know what they're talking about. I now have $300,000 in my bank account. I did at one point, but I paid for materials. I paid my employees. I paid the state. I paid for our trucks. I did all the things. I don't know what they're talking about. How do they expect me to pay tax on money I don't have? That right there, that story is really common. And it's frustrating that people feel that way. But when somebody feels that way or has that experience, they don't necessarily know what question they should ask that CPA. And so my encouragement is, whatever your question is, it's okay if you don't know how to articulate it. Just start, just try. And I encourage you to be curious to understand, like, why are you saying in that story, why are you saying I have to pay all this tax? I have all these deductions. I find that people don't even understand how deductions really work. And there's no shame in that. It's just that there's flashy people all over social media and there's the Dave Ramseys of the world and etc. that just talk about, hey, you got to get your tax deductions. Well, when we're getting tax deductions, that's true. We do need those, right? To reduce our taxable income. But ultimately, a lot of times we're spending our profit so we can stick it to the IRS. And so there's talk about mindset shift. When we begin to shift our mindset away from, I need to stick it to the man, to, no, I need a lot of money in my bank account at the end of every month. And if I'm being told I have to pay taxes on it, I need the money to be there so that my business is safe and my family is safe. Those kind of questions are hard to come by or hard to conjure up because you have to humble yourself, right? And say, I don't know what I don't know. And then you don't want to pretend that you do know.
Well, and I think one of the things is, like you're talking about having a bunch of money in the bank account, is we're inherently, the thought process and what we're taught is you shouldn't. You should be buying equipment. You should be buying all of this stuff. You should not have because otherwise you are going to have a big tax burden. And how do we start to change that mindset around all of that?
That's a really great question. How long do we have?
However long we need.
Well, I would say the answer to how we shift our mindset there is to understand and really embrace the idea that it is always better. Cash is king. And it is always better to have control, and it is always better to have influence over your own financial life instead of being subject to hearsay tax strategy. Like, hey, you should just go buy a big truck. I don't need a big truck. I should go buy one anyway. It is better to keep the money you're making and pay some tax on it than it is to have a cash poor business. Cash is king always. Money is energy. And when we understand that money is energy, it is literally just choices. Money in the bank gives us choices. Having a bunch of equipment, hey, I'm here for it. Yep. What tools do we need to do our jobs, right? But spending our profit, spending our cash down just so that we don't have to pay tax on it is really ass backwards thinking when it comes to um actual financial strategy. Like it doesn't make sense most of the time. And that is a hard shift to make. And here's where I know people have made it. People have made the shift. When they come back into my office after going through Profit Lab or after working one-on-one with me, and the conversation sounds like this. My CPA told me I had a tax bill of X number of dollars, and I had every dollar I needed in the bank. And I feel confident, and I feel really, really good about that. And I will pay as much tax as I need to, but not a dollar more. And people come back and say, my mindset has shifted because I'm like, I don't want to take that $100,000 I have in the bank and go buy a piece of equipment that I don't need. I'd rather have the cash. Paying taxes, I know this is heresy for a lot of people. It's hard to move through this mindset that having a cash poor business is awesome. No, it's not awesome. It's stressful. If you have a big piece of equipment or a fleet of trucks or any of the things that I see contractors have, in a pinch, because pinches come in business, in a pinch, you can't just liquidate that. So what we're required to do in a pinch is borrow more money. And it puts our business further and further back. So there's a place for leverage. There's a place for tax strategy. But the real shift, the real transformation happens when your listener wants a cash-rich business and is willing to pay as little tax as they have to, and they aren't wasting or spending their profit on things the business doesn't actually need so they can stick it to the IRS.
Well, I would agree, because that's like when you talk about being stressful, it's most of the times it's always a money crunch. It's waiting for this to come through on this project or that project. And then, like you said, the CPA, we have this tax bill, we need whatever, then people just buy it. And there's never any substantial amount of money in the bank. And like in what you said is like, then your next thing, something happens. It's inevitable. It's why it's so stressful when you're running a business with no cash.
Oh yeah, that is so stressful. I feel like so much freedom and transformation happens for the person who owns a business and the business itself when we begin to let go of the lie of the land, which I say is that we just have to make more money, make more, get the next job, get the next contract, get. That's the American way. Get it. But it leaves us exhausted, always chasing the next deal. And the lie of the land is that's going to make our financial problems as a family or even as a business go away. I can't tell you how many times, Ron, a client has said to me, yeah, when that business, that contract finally pays me at the end of net 90 days, then I'm going to clear out all my debt and I'm starting all over. But that becomes a vicious hamster wheel cycle. And so the freedom comes from recognizing like, oh, I don't have to do everything that everyone says. What I want to do is I want to build a business that I'm proud of. And I want a business that isn't hamstrung or doesn't fall apart if a client doesn't pay us for 90 days because I have cash in the bank, right? That is where the transformation happens. And let me tell you, talk about reprogramming that line of code in your brain. There's something about cash, money in the bank, that's transformative. And in a society where we're just used to using a credit card or getting a line of credit and financing everything, I'm not saying that's evil. It's not. It's just a choice people make. But when we have cash, we have power. We have influence,
confidence,
choices, and confidence. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the big things that come out of it, is because you have the confidence that you can make these decisions, and it's not like every decision you make could make or break the business.
Uh-huh. Takes the pressure off.
Mm-hmm.
It totally takes the pressure.
And that's what a non-cat like. We're in business to make money at the end of the day, always, and cash is king. I mean, it really is. I'm a Grant Cardone guy, so like, he's Mr. Cash. Like,
Yeah.
cash is king. Whoever has the most cash will win at the end of the day. And with anytime there's always uncertainties happening, just like right now,
Yeah.
cash is king.
Cash is
Because
king.
stuff happens and you don't know what opportunities might present themselves, or what disaster could lead you into needing that cash to survive. And we don't think enough about that.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's a lot of comfort in playing the what if scenarios to the degree where we put ourselves into fear. What I really want for your audience to hold on to from this conversation is that you have a choice. You can do business the way you've always done business, and maybe it really works for you. Maybe it does. And maybe you're comfortable with a really stacked balance sheet of hard assets like equipment or land or something like that. But I find that a lot of times we see assets on the balance sheet, but we have no cash. And if we have no cash, we don't have choices. And we don't, and those choices could include grasping opportunities. Where like I worked with a business recently where we wanted to make a job offer to grab a superintendent from a competitor that was super talented and we believed was really going to make a meaningful difference for the business. And so we needed to negotiate. And as we went to go negotiate, this was early in working with me, we ran into a problem because there was just not enough cash around to substantiate hiring this person and taking the risk that spinning off another crew and doing those things for scale would actually be profitable in the long run, because there hadn't been enough cash around to create that runway. And so we weren't able to hire the person and we weren't able to take that opportunity to scale.
Mm.
And so cash gives us choice, right? It gives us choices. So that's why anytime you hang out with me, I'm going to be like, okay, let's become a cash rich business. Money in the bank, profitable. I don't care what your P&L says. I teach people to manage their cash from their phone, not from QuickBooks, right? It's a different paradigm.
It definitely is. This has been a fantastic conversation today. I mean, I have enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Anytime we're talking about a mindset shift, it's when we're challenging people to
Yep.
think differently and ask the question, is how I've always done it right. And I love that you're out here preaching this message. So for everybody listening, if they wanted to follow you, connect with you, learn more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
So first I have a gift for your audience, and it can be found at gift.profits with Leanne, Leanne, profitwithleanne.com. I have a guide that are 3 things that your audience can do like today to make a meaningful difference and keep more of the money they're making in their bank account. So I would love for you guys to go grab that, because that is work that I do in the trenches one-on-one with people. And they're the first steps I ask people to take so they can grow and be more profitable. And so that is my gift to your audience. It's basically the first month of my coaching program or my one-on-one mentorship, and they can just go do that now. I am on social. I primarily do TikTok. Instagram's not my jam. So I can be found at TikTok, on TikTok at profitwithleanne.com.
Awesome. I love it. A TikToker. We don't get very many TikTokers on.
Oh, it's a weird place to be, Ron, I'll tell you, but
Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag where we're really challenging mindset beliefs here and how we've always thought, especially when it comes to money and profit and cash and your balance sheet, stuff that can make your business very stressful. I mean, I've been in both situations where you have no cash in a very cash strapped business that's very asset heavy and it's very stressful. And I have been in businesses that have a lot of cash as well. And you know what? It's still stressful. I'll be honest. Anytime you're building something big, but there's a peace of mind and a comfort that you have when you know if something happens or you need to get something, the first phone call you have to make isn't to a bank.
Yeah.
You can
Amen.
you can make that decision yourself on what exactly do I want to do. And I'll tell you what, banks love it when you call them and you have cash sitting in your account. You can typically get a lot better terms and they're more willing to work with you when they know you don't have to work with them and you're choosing to than when they know you have no other choice. Like I said, it creates this peace of mind. Doesn't take all the stress away. As we know, building businesses is a stressful thing. It's hard. It's not for everybody. But wouldn't you just like to have a little bit of peace of mind? Like just something that when you lay down at night, one less concern to have if you had a few more zeros in your bank account than what you currently have there. Uh, just a little comfort. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I think I understand the strategies from all perspectives. Like we don't want to pay taxes, but what if we never have any money to do anything? And like these are all decisions that you have to make. It all starts up here in your head with what your mindset is around it. Like Leanne said, maybe you just like, running in that word where you build you have a lot of assets. And maybe hopefully one day it can come to fruition that those assets actually turn into something of value in your bank account. But I mean, along the way, wouldn't it be nice to go on vacation and not have to worry about what's happening in the bank account personally and at work? Like, man, talk about a nice vacation. That would be like, it's one thing to remove yourself from the business and be able to go on the vacation, but what if you could go on that vacation and know there's enough money in the accounts for the business personally that I can really relax. Like this is not that big of a deal. So I challenge everybody to think about this, to ask yourself that question, to go get the three things from Leanne and actually dive into it. Really just like take the time and be like, man, am I looking at this the right way or am I adding stress into my life? So construction champions, until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.